Hey guys, I thought I'd try a video update this time because I'm pretty sure everyone is really confused about what's happening with the blue brick these days. And I'm going to try and explain everything from top to bottom so that I can hopefully answer most of the questions that we're getting by email. And the text of this video is included below for anybody who's hearing impaired. Wingspan dropped on the same day as a pretty major yarn festival here in Toronto. And prior to Wingspan, we'd had a couple of things that we didn't really expect happen. We lost both of our dye assistants due to a death in their family, and we lost our customer service manager. So we went into Frolic already feeling, a little bit frazzled. We knew Wingspan would be big, but we didn't know it would be that big. Yes, it had been very popular online. Yes, somebody had stole it, but we had no grasp of what going viral really meant in a numbers sense. And to be totally honest, we were excited for ourselves. We had something that was literally hitting a note with the market, and that's a pretty heady feeling for a small business. So it simply didn't occur to me to call the sales back, which I fully acknowledge now was a mistake. And by the time we got home from Frolic, and we checked our sales, that horse had bolted, and I'll be 100% honest, I actually threw up when I saw the numbers. So we had to form a plan. We formed a plan as quickly as we could. We're flying by the seat of our pants. So here's what happened next. As soon as we could, we closed the store. So no more orders could come in, and the store would remain closed for 3 months. We hired somebody to build a machine to automate part of my process. I ordered enough equipment to bring my daily yield to 80 skeins per day instead of only 35, which is what I could do at home. I hired all new staff. I replaced my customer service manager. You guys have all had some kind of connection with Carol. And I hired a new dyer assistant, and I hired a new shipping manager. And then what needed to happen couldn't happen in our home. So we found a space that we thought was perfect, and we signed a lease. I fully admit here that we were completely green and totally inexperienced, but we were doing our best. As to the fulfillment schedule, I just plugged my numbers into an Excel file, and the date that it spit back was July, so I went with July. We got the keys. We got a horrible surprise. We were under the impression that we would be receiving both the front and the back of our space at the same time, but it turns out that we were actually only receiving the front of our space, and we would not receive the back of our space until June. This is because the guy who occupied that space wasn't going to get his junk out until June. It was just something we had no control over, but it was obviously a huge problem because that's where the dye stations were supposed to go. So we had to keep dyeing at home, but obviously with a completely reduced daily yield because we're still working at 35 skeins a day, and we were trying to renovate the space and get the move done and all of that. We got access to the back in late June, and a complete can of worms opened up. We had no hot water. We had terrible lighting. It was all fluorescent lighting back there. You can't do color matching or color correction on their fluorescent lighting. We needed a levee to contain the water from the dye stations. We needed an electrician. We had a leaky roof, you name it. There was no natural gas. There were no power outlets. There was no proper drainage. And the perfect space turned out to not be so perfect. The suppliers that we hired also fell through. We got less than 20% of the equipment that we thought we would have, and our daily yield got no higher than 50 skeins per day. And to this day, it is 50 skeins per day, despite my best efforts. The supplier building the machines was unable to do the job. He wasn't very transparent about it. I kept throwing good money after bad, thinking that things would turn around. But as of now, we're almost done Wingspan, and a working machine basically never arrived. So, we made a lot of mistakes, and they're mistakes that I can only see in hindsight. We're a small company. That means that anything can tip us over. That means that there's a holdup at the supplier end, if there's a holdup on cash flow, if there's a problem with our utilities, if somebody is sick, which happens when you're all, working overtime. So we kept adjusting that Excel file every time something went wrong and updating our timelines online, and things started to get pretty ugly. We were on a fixed income because the company was closed, and we were determined to make good on our word that we would issue no questions asked refunds to anyone who was unwilling to wait. That meant that we refunded about 33% of our original sales, without being able to bring in more revenue. Then we came out in support of Ravelry, and we lost another 20% sales for standing orders to that. So that meant only one thing. Unfortunately, we had to reopen the store, or we had to risk going under. And to prioritize the orders, we backed out of all of our summer and fall festivals, which normally represent a large portion of our annual revenue. That's just the way that the cookie crumbled. There was no getting around it. We had to reopen the store. It turns out that growing too rapidly is actually a big reason why small companies collapse. The Blue Brick's only 4 years old, and we grew really quickly. We were not experienced enough to know that refunds would become a hole in the bottom of the boat that was out of our control, or the ramifications of offering up refunds when we had already optimistically invested all those funds in hiring an all-new team, getting the equipment, getting the space, renovating the space, buying actual yarn, buying dyes, yada, yada, yada. I think we've all seen that this year that, social media alone can bring a company down. We didn't consider or anticipate the amount of labor that would go into social media maintenance. In today's online environment, it's insane. We are not a PR firm, and it would be disingenuous and contrary to what people expect from a small business if I were to hire a PR firm. But, you've got messages coming in constantly. You've got Instagram messages, Facebook messages, through the website, through email, on Ravelry, in comments, in DMs, and that can get overwhelming, and messages can slip our radar. So, and to boot, this is an era of unprecedented expectation for small business owners to pony up and to give full transparency, lots of really personal information, complete disclosure, and that's hard. I don't think I realized what the weight of that would be until we found ourselves in that position. We did our best to keep everybody up to date. We did our best to be completely transparent, but here again, I know that we made a lot of mistakes, and for that, I'm so sorry to everybody who got the wrong impression about what was happening here. The Blue Brick's not a sweatshop. I believe in a living wage. I believe in solid labor incentives. I believe in an all-woman business, and I believe in a beautiful social environment that is open to everybody to come and be part of my creative space. But this is a far cry from working alone in my basement, and it costs a lot more money than the Blue Brick was historically making. And that necessitated the addition of more products to the store and a diversified revenue stream, because it was the only way that I could continue to make revenue without using yarn, right? These are the things that I can do while yarn is drying. You can only spend so much time dyeing yarn while the yarn is drying. I had the skills to be able to diversify my revenue stream, and so I did. I know that ruffled some feathers, but I promise that it didn't hold up anybody's orders, and no company can make it without revenue. You can't quadruple the size of a company, not quadruple the size of your sales, and not run into trouble. That's, hindsight's 2020, right? That brings us to today. We're 8 days away from completion as of my last calculation, and we're not planning on taking a break, but we're going straight into the August 1st orders. We want everybody to know that we are completely committed. We love you guys. We love our customers. We know we can't do this without you. We know that you're the people that we do this for. We hear you. We hear you when you express frustration with us. We're frustrated with ourselves because, and the naivety and the decisions that got us in this spot in the first place. But we made the best decisions that we can with the information that we had, with the experience level that we had. And we tried to stay true to ourselves. So we stayed true to our refund commitments. We stayed true to our commitment to an inclusive environment when we decide to support Ravelry. And we accept that this stuff brings consequences. We're doing the best that we can to deal with them as professionally and transparently as we can, and bring the company to a place where there's some kind of balance. There's a balance between demand and fulfillment. There's a balance between what I'm able to offer online and the mediums that I can provide. And there's a work-life balance for the wonderful people who work with me, who work so hard to bring you this yarn. I guess that's all I have to say. I'm signing off. For now, but as always, please feel free to write to us at the support.thebluebrick.ca if you have any questions. Questions are never harassment. Harassment's something else, trust me. But if you want to speak to me directly, then you can always write to hello.thebluebrick.ca, and I'm going to see that. And I guess that's it. Thank you very much for listening.